Throughout 2020, we've had an opportunity to catch up with Nicole Dunn, who's a healthcare professional. Her specialty is in aged care. She's part of Empower Aged Care. Nicole, welcome to The Informer.
Thanks for having me, George.
Now, we've had, through this incredibly complicated year, that's been filled with disruption and real challenges for the medical profession. I want to sit back and reflect a little bit on what we've learned. As someone who's spent plenty of time helping older Australians, can you just give us a glimpse, especially for those who are catching you first time, on what you've made of the year?
Yes, I mean, this year has really just been truly an unbelievable year, to say the least. My role with Empower Aged Care is to arrange home-based aged care services for people, and I guess what I saw on the front line during the first and second waves is...
And the lockdowns.
And the lockdowns, yep,
Which
absolutely.
Added new challenges.
Yes, is, when people who were 70 and older were told by the government back in March that if you can isolate, you should isolate, that really threw some challenges. And, those challenges was that suddenly there was a population of people who now can't go out to the shops, they can't go to the bank to do their banking, they can't visit anyone, they can't do their recreational activities. And for a lot of the clients I was seeing... And
of course, they can't go to the bank, can't get the money.
Yeah.
They don't have the financial skills to get
exactly.
to get on and get an app or
they're often
do their
not on the
banking
internet.
Online.
They can't do their shopping online a lot of the time.
So it's a real intrusion, huh?
So yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the clients I was seeing either didn't have family or their family were in country areas or were interstate. And so it meant that there was quite an urgent need for home-based aged care services. So for carers to enter the home with the appropriate infection control precautions to make sure that these seniors could be safe, that there were welfare checks that were being done.
Did that raise the anxiety level? Knowing that someone's coming into the house, where have they been? Security, safety, all that sort of stuff.
Look, I think it was twofold. There were those concerns there.
Okay.
Home care was managed quite well in terms of infection control, and COVID cases were actually quite low in the home environment compared to residential aged care.
Yes, residential aged care, very different kettle of fish.
They're two different kettles of fish.
Very much a more secure
That's
base,
right.
was it? Okay.
And for a lot of
that
the
was
clients,
interesting. Yeah,
I was seeing it was actually reassuring that someone was checking on them, that someone would be able to get some groceries for them or attend to other basic needs when otherwise that may not have occurred and they would have been in much more trouble.
Did you get a lot of people wanting to leave the homes, the residential homes, and go and try and find a way to get back to what they knew was the most safe environment for them?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you cope with that?
Look, I had much more inquiries about that, and particularly when people perhaps had terminal illnesses and were then blocked from their families visiting. That was probably a scenario where I was getting more inquiries, and really that was around looking at, well, how can we facilitate an urgent transition back home with urgent services plus all of the equipment that would be needed. To make that happen, and in cases that it was appropriate and it could be made happen.
Wow. What have you noticed since the restrictions have been lifted, predominantly in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Because the rest of Australia seems to have got through the COVID pandemic in a much more liberal way. Victoria really took a fearful hit, and we saw that second lockdown, and we saw the death toll rise in the aged care.
Yeah.
The number, when we reached 800, people were just shaking their heads in disbelief. Did you get an idea that things were ever going to get so out of hand?
It certainly wasn't something I expected at all, that it would get so out of hand. And I think that's why, the recovery from that is certainly taking longer than what we've seen in other states.
It hasn't just bounced back.
No, and for seniors, it takes them a lot longer to get back to what they were doing before. So the shift that I'm seeing is, before when lockdown was there, it was a need for urgent home care. We need that now. And now what we're seeing is a need for urgent rehabilitation for seniors. So in-home physiotherapy. So we can help these seniors to get stronger, to build their fitness back up, to make sure they can safely get back to doing the things they were doing before. So one of the side effects of a lockdown that I've seen with seniors is that if you can't leave your house for 5 months, 6 months, and you're 80 or 90 years old, that really means that your frailty increases, you decondition, there's
Yep.
falls, a loss of confidence, and without that rehabilitation, sometimes seniors don't get back to doing what they were before. So that's the change that I'm seeing
Well, they'd
now.
be fearful too.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're frail, you fall once or twice,
Yeah.
you break something. I can imagine the anxiety levels going through the roof. Now, we've got Christmas just about upon us. What's it going to be like this time of the year for seniors after what we've had all year?
Yeah, look, I think Christmas can certainly be a really polarising time of year for people. You know, on one end of the spectrum, you've got, you know, grandparents that are finally seeing their children and grandchildren and, you know, will spend Christmas together and carry on with all those traditions, and it's just a wonderful time of year. But on the other end of the spectrum, you've got people that perhaps don't have family or don't have anyone to spend Christmas with. And that's a really difficult time of year. So, you know, depending on an individual's circumstances, it can be quite tough. Yeah.
What support programs do we have that exist for our seniors who may need some support this time around?
Yeah, so look, there are extra support programs that are available during the Christmas time. One of my favourites and one of the ones I've referred clients to is having a Christmas Day lunch. So a lot of councils and a lot of charitable organisations such as the Salvos, through volunteers, will
like
actually...
Second Bite and agencies like that? They do a tremendous job.
St Vincent de Paul and other registered charities, they will, through their volunteers, actually put on a Christmas Day lunch, and it's amazing. It's a 3-course lunch. It's all the trimmings, and it's really an opportunity for people that might not have someone to spend Christmas with to still be part of a community.
Social
It
opportunity.
is, and it really makes quite a big difference to people. And sometimes that's the first step towards someone then going on to access services.
Is there something we can do to help our seniors?
Yeah.
If beyond the Salvos, beyond the St Vinny de Pauls and others, is there something for us to do?
Yeah, look, I think the best thing that we can do is to be mindful of, you know, the people that are around us in our neighbourhood, in our local community.
Check with our next door neighbour.
Yeah, and you know, that has actually been a feature of what's happened in COVID. Yes, it's been a really difficult time, but it's also been a time of, you know, thinking about, well, who's doing it harder than me, and is there someone else I need to help? So that sort of Aussie spirit really has come back. And that's really important during Christmas time as well. And, you know, just thinking about the people that are around you, and if you are aware that someone in your community may not have anyone to spend Christmas with, is just reaching out to them, even if it's just for a chat initially.
Have you been buoyed by the fact the federal government has seen fit to add more money to the pot for aged care?
Oh, look, I'm thrilled, and I've seen a lot of that is going towards home care as well. And that's certainly been, again, a highlight. In recent years, is that people are just wanting to spend their senior years at home, so it's very refreshing to see more funding.
As you've been told each and every time we've had Nicole Dunn in the studio, it's been an opportunity to talk about an area and a sector of the community that she knows very, very well. We wish you all the very best for Christmas.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in 21, because we believe there is so much more that we need to tackle and so many more subjects we need to raise to make sure that our aged care community, which is growing in number each and every year, starts to get the sort of support it really needs and craves.
Absolutely.
Yep. Nicole Dunn on The Informer. Thank you.
Thank you, George.